Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. I've gotten a lot of questions lately regarding fishing pressured water. As we know, the lakes and rivers across the country are getting more pressure than they've ever gotten. The sport of fishing is growing. The unfortunate part is that means it's getting harder to catch fish because the fish are getting a little wiser, right? So they're seeing our baits, they're seeing our different retrieves. So it's getting harder to fool them into biting. But I've got some tips here for you that will really help improve your chances in being more successful the next time you're out on an extremely pressured body of water. This is something a lot of anglers aren't doing on a regular basis, so it really will help you separate yourself from the competition that's out there. Before I get into that, I do want to remind you that if you're looking for a little bit of help on your local lakes, check out the lake breakdowns that I do with fishthemoment.com. We offer 40 waypoints based on the season for a specific lake. Great way to get some help on the lake in your area, or maybe you're going to a new lake for vacation. Make sure you check that out. The link's in the video description. Also, if you're looking to support the channel, please make sure you do your tackle warehouse shopping using my affiliate link. The link for that is in the video description, and that is very much appreciated. So the next time you head out on a very pressured body of water, there are some things that you need to remember. The first is your bait selection should be either very large or very small. And what I mean by that is most people are going to go out and throw the standard baits. In my opinion, you're much better off to go out there and throw those micro baits. Throw some small plastics, small drop shots, small Ned baits. You're going to catch a lot more fish. And granted, a lot of them may only be that big. But the reality is you still will have as many opportunities at the big fish that you come encounter with. So don't forget about going small. But you can go the opposite, guys. You can go big. Throw some big swim baits, some big glide baits, 12-inch plastic worms. Things that the fish don't normally see, because on most of these lakes, most people, when they do make the adjustment, will go smaller. The fish aren't used to seeing a big square bill or big crankbait, because that's what most people wouldn't think to do on a pressured body of water. So don't think you have to go small. Now, that's a great way to generate strikes, but think about going big too. That is a really good way to catch a big fish and to give the fish something that they don't see that often. Now, just be aware you're going to get less bites, but your average size is going to be better. And don't think you just have to go smaller either with like your plastics or small micro baits. Think about a chatterbait. If everyone's throwing a chatterbait, you can go with a micro chatterbait, a much smaller chatterbait. So you still get the same profile, the same sound, but it's more compact. It gives the fish something they have not seen nearly as much. So that's a good choice. The next, and it's along the same lines, is regarding your retrieve. Either go really slow or really fast with your retrieve. So what I like to do is I like to soak my bait. So if I've got a spot where I know that there are fish hanging out, so there's an isolated piece of cover or there's a school of fish, I'll dead stick my bait on the bottom for 15 seconds up to a couple of minutes, depending on how long I think that the fish need to find that bait. I'll let it sit there. And a lot of times it's almost like playing a game of chicken. Are you going to move your bait first, or is the fish going to eat your bait? It's just a matter of having the patience to let your bait sit there. Now, to counter that, the other way to retrieve your bait is to go super fast. I'm talking as fast as you can reel. For instance, if you've got a walking topwater bait and you're just walking the dog with it, think about retrieving it so fast that it's just skittering across the surface. Sometimes it jumps out of the water, sometimes it dives under the water. You want something that gives the fish a completely different look, something they are not familiar with at all. That's a really good way to do it, and that's by speeding up your retrieve. The same can be said if you're fishing a crankbait, a square bill, or a chatterbait. Whatever it is, the faster you retrieve it, the better deflection you get when you hit off an object. And that deflection is what generates strikes from inactive fish. They need a reactionary thing to generate them to bite. And the bigger the reflection you get or deflection you get, the better chance you have at generating those strikes. The third thing to do, and this is a hard one, guys, is to avoid the crowds. Now, obviously, most lakes will have community spots, and those are community spots because they have fish. Don't think you have to run from that. But keep in mind, if you're like, well, this lake is really tough, I know if I go to the community spot, I can get a couple of bites. I'd be willing to bet you that you can get as many bites, if not more, by fishing the stuff that does not look good. Sometimes it's a sand flat, a bare bank, whatever it is where people aren't fishing, there's still going to be some fish in those areas, and the likelihood is they're going to be more aggressive and more willing to bite because they don't ever see baits compared to the fish in the community spot. So you might be better off looking where other people are not looking. So don't go fish the most obvious points. Maybe you find a really subtle little drop. Maybe instead of a big 20-foot break line change from 10 foot of water to 30 foot, you go find one that's from 8 to 10 feet. Little things like that will hold fish. They may not hold the giant schools, but on a big pressured body of water, a lot of times those big schools are broken up and you have isolated fish everywhere, which only makes those unobvious banks even better, because the fish that were in the big school have broken up and gone out on their own ways, and they'll find these flats, or they'll be on those flats moving to another good spot. You can intersect them, you can catch those fish, and a lot of times they're the easiest fish on the lake to catch. So employ those 3 things out on your water next time if you're on a heavily pressured body. Reel your bait fast or super slow, go super big or super small, or fish where no one else is fishing. I'm telling you, it's going to be hard for you to kind of try any of those sometimes, but those 3 things will make you a much better angler on extremely pressured bodies of water. It's something I've done for a while, and it's helped me catch a lot of extra fish, so I know you guys will too. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, we got another video coming out tomorrow.